8 years in the making, with input from some of the world's leading ultrasound experts. Scantrainer is a 24/7 virtual reality-based ultrasound training simulator that enables any level of practitioner to learn the key ultrasound scanning skills for examining the female pelvis. The system consists of a number of key components, and the first is the haptic simulator itself. This device, with its replica probe, gives you the key feedback from examining a patient, the actual real feel. Secondly, the PC itself, this becomes your ultrasound machine and also your tutor. Every trainee or tutor simply logs into this machine, which brings up their homepage where they have a range of modules that will teach them all the key scanning skills. Every skill is broken down into its key components. You have modules, tutorials, and then lessons within that tutorial. The important thing is they're all simple, intuitive, and easy to learn and easy to take. So what we'll do is now load up one of the simple lessons, take you through a lesson to demonstrate how the system actually works. So once I've decided which module I'd like to take, I simply open up the relevant module. Here we're going to look at core scanning skills for gynecology. The system has lesson plans for both gynecology, all the key skills there, and also obstetrics for an early pregnancy at 11 weeks. But if we look at the gynecology module for a start with, I'm just going to do a simple module here, examination of the uterus and the sagittal plane, and 4.2, optimal assessment uterine cavity. Click take lesson. The system opens up the lesson, explains what the lesson is. We always explain what the scanning planes are, just so there's no confusion, and then we click take assignment. Simulator takes a while to load up because it is actually a real patient scan that we're showing in the system. So once that's loaded, you can see now this is my learning screen. I click next, undock the probe, and now the system is up and running, and you can see the key learning components. How, first of all, you can see how the probe, now wherever I'm moving this probe within the patient, I'm getting real feedback, real resistance on the probe, and within the virtual patient, where we've cut the anatomy away, you can see how wherever I move this probe, you see how the ultrasound plane is now interacting with the anatomy. So as I move the probe in and out, you can see how it's interacting with the anatomy, and also how the ultrasound image itself, which is a real patient scan, relates to the position of the probe within the anatomy. Now this is a real patient scan, as I've said, that's built up using our unique novel software that enables us to perfectly replicate the patient's ultrasound scan. This is not a simulated scan, it's an actual patient where we've taken every slice of an ultrasound examination and then rebuilt it so it perfectly matches wherever this probe is within our virtual patient. The generic dashboard enables you to change a number of fields such as depth of field, zoom, gain, TGC. You can also freeze it, and that brings up another action buttons such as annotate, measure, CRL length, etc. And finally, this becomes your tutor. So importantly, this is trying to talk to you as a trainee exactly as if you're a tutor standing beside you. So here it asks me to introduce the probe in the sagittal plane, making sure I keep the probe within the midline. Click next. Now it wants me to optimize the image. So to optimize the image, I'm going to increase the depth of field. This is all about making sure that you magnify the image correctly when you're examining a patient. So it wants me to fill it to about 75% of the field of view. Make sure I'm happy with the gain, and then I freeze the image, take a picture, unfreeze, and then click next. It asks me to image the uterus from the patient's right to left side. So I'm going to sweep the probe out so the patient's right ovary, to the left ovary, and back to the midline. Now I click next. Now it asks me to measure the endometrial thickness. So here it says, remaining in the sagittal plane, ensure that I've located the endometrium at its thickest point. It wants me to enlarge the image so that I feel it's level that's acceptable. Now we're going to make sure that we're happy with our image, freeze it, and now we bring up the caliper button. Now we're looking for the point the highest. Okay, I take a picture, unfreeze, click next, withdraw the probe, and and redock it. Now, most importantly, the whole time I've been doing this examination, taking this lesson, the system has been measuring what I've been doing against a gold standard. So every position, measurement, pressure, anything related to the examination, it has been constantly measuring so that it can review my results at the end of the lesson plan and tell me whether I've passed or failed. So you can see here the history of my attempts at doing the optimal assessment uterine cavity, and you can see that I passed the module. If you look at the one I did yesterday, you can see how every level of task that I've done is given with a tick or a cross to give me feedback. If you get any cross, when you click on it, it will bring up exactly why you failed. So in this case, on yesterday's module, the endometrial thickness measured in the correct position, I was actually 2 millimeters away from where I should have been, so therefore the system failed me, but it showed me where I should be putting the measurement. At any point you can bring up your own image that you've taken, so you can see where I got the image correct or wrong. And the idea is that at any point you can then retake the assignment, learning from your mistakes. So it really is a self-learning tool. So any time, out of hours, whenever there's you've got a spare time in your curriculum, you can go in between patient lists, you can go and take the lesson and learn how to do the scan. Now, if I go to home, you can see the idea is that once we've worked our way through all the different modules, you can then, you see I get ticks or crosses. Once I've got ticks all the way down, I can then bring up the certificate. The certificate tells me whether I've passed or failed, and I can then print it off and take it my signature. And we would consider that once you've passed all the modules in the exam and taken the final model where basically the anatomy gets covered over and you have a timed examination, you would be considered competent to go on a patient. Now the other key bit from a tutor's point of view is that the tutor gets access to all the data about their trainees. They can see exactly when they've been on the system, they can see what lessons they've done, whether they've passed or failed. If I push on that icon, I can then replay that particular trainee's lesson and see how they were doing the module. I can even replay how they were doing it, and it repeats all the scanning. I get all the data about when trainees are using the system, key bit simulations to ensure systems are used. This enables you to monitor exactly who's on it when and make sure the system's used in the optimal way. You can also, as a tutor, very importantly, you can customize your own modules. So every module that we have, and we have a full range of modules, we have core skills modules for obstetrics, core skills modules for gynecology. We then also have a range of advanced skills. So once you've learnt the core skills, you can then go on to the mainly pathology-related skills, which in gynecology is a fibroid module. We also have an ovarian cyst module, and then in obstetrics we have an ectopic pregnancy, identification of twins, miscarriage, early pregnancy at 6 weeks, cervical length, and also IUCD positioning. So a full comprehensive range of modules. And at any point you can take any elements of those and create your own modules. If you want to create them for certain tutor groups, you can take your own tutor groups and allocate whatever modules you want to those tutor groups. So it really gives you flexibility to create a real educational learning tool. So I hope you've enjoyed that very quick tour of the Scantrainer simulator. I guess we're biased, but we think it's the best ultrasound training simulator you can get today. It gives you real feel with real patients and real feedback, and we'd be delighted to come and show you the system, set it up in your hospital and give you a proper face-to-face tour so you can really experience just how Scantrainer can massively improve the whole education experience.